Hello guys, here I have a platinum Cuban link ring that has been designed on the computer, 3D printed and then cast into platinum. And I'm going to be showing you how to go about cleaning something like this to microscope quality from start to finish. So as you can see, this texture is on the casting because of the printing machine. It leaves these patterns because that's the way it prints. So if you want to go about cleaning this, first you got to take down this layer with some heavy sandpaper or file, and then you could start cleaning the rest of it in different ways. The way I'm going to be showing you is I'm going to be lasering in between these links. Then I'll be using a rubber wheel to clean the cracks and the crevices. And then after that, we're going to go and clean our facets on the outsides and the insides. So if you're interested in seeing this process, continue to watch the video. So as you can see right over here where it looks clean and shiny, I've used a nice blending setting on the laser to achieve that look because it basically shoots out a beam and melts the metal together, causing it to look shiny. So I'm going to do both of those sides, then these sides, and then we'll move on to the next step. So here we are at the laser machine. These are the settings that I'm going to be using. 185 for the power, 1.5 for the MS, 5 for the HZ, which is basically the speed that it shoots at, and 0.9 as the diameter of the beam, because the bigger the beam, the better it's going to blend because it covers more surface area in one shot. If you have a laser machine, you could experiment with these settings because every machine varies based on the company and it makes a little bit of a difference. But for my machine, this works really well. And if you don't know what any of these settings mean, then I'll cover that in another video. So now I'm going to turn on the camera and do some shots so you guys can see what that looks like. And by doing this, you're basically getting the polished look in those little cracks and crevices. So that's going to save you a lot of time of having to go in and go over everything. And you're also going to have a completely clean piece under the microscope with no casting or printing residue left over. So as you can see, I've lasered all those tight areas that are annoying to reach, including the insides. And even these little junctions on the side, which would be hard to reach with the rubber wheel unless you kept sharpening it, but this is faster and cleaner. So the next thing I have to do is remove these sprues. These sprues are basically what's attached to the wax after it's printed, so the metal has somewhere to flow through as the piece is being cast into the desired metal, which in this case was platinum. So to clean these, I'm going to take a ball fraser and grind them down, and then the area is going to be a little rough, but then I'm going to go back to the laser with the same settings and blend all those scratches and uneven surfaces away. I've actually decided to use this grinder as opposed to the ball fraser because these are pretty hefty sprues in platinum, which is harsher on your tools. So I'm actually going to use this to get to the base, and then if it needs it afterwards, then I'll use a ball fraser to finalize the shape. Now that I got these sprues grinded down, I'm going to go in with a 320 grit sandpaper wheel to clean up those scratches and also clean up the insides of the texture. As you can see here, the sandpaper has started taking away that 3D printing texture. I recommend starting with at least 320 grit because it's rough and it eats the texture away fast. You could start with something finer to be closer to the polishing stage, but then you're going to have to keep ripping up your sandpaper and starting with a fresh layer, and it's actually going to take longer than if you were to set a nice foundation with something coarse and then move to the next stage, which would be anywhere from 600 to 1000 grit. Once the numbers start going higher, that means your sandpaper is getting finer and closer to the polished stage. Now when you take a look, you could see that I've sanded the inside to the stage right before polishing. What I did to get to this stage was what I just showed you with the sand wheel, starting at 320, and I went through the stages. The next one I used was this one, I believe is 800. Then I went to 1200, and the final stage was 2000. I normally go up to 2500, but I had run out of that sandpaper, so this will do. It'll just require a little extra polishing. When you end up doing this, under the microscope or magnification, you could really see why it's important to go through the stages, because then you could see the lines being taken away nice and evenly without anything left over because you skipped the stage way too fast. So yeah, the next thing I'm about to do is the same thing to the top. I'm going to go through the same stages of sandpaper, except this time I'm going to be using a stick to keep the facets nice and flat on the outside. And when you polish that after filing it by hand and keep these facets nice and even, you could really see how the light's going to reflect off of it beautifully. Alright guys, now I got the outside sanded to the same stage that the inside was at right before polishing. So now all that's left is the areas we didn't hit with the laser or the sandpaper, which is basically the sides, the little cracks on the inside, and the little crack junctions on the outside. So what I'm going to use for this is this blue rubber wheel, which is sharp. You could sharpen it with a disc or whatever tool you'd like. Then you'll be able to fit right inside these lines and clean everything up along with the outsides. Then I go directly to this one. This is a nice rubber wheel to be able to blend everything you cleaned and get it ready for polishing. Or if you'd like, instead of the blue, you could start with the black, and the black eats metal pretty fast. Not as fast as the blue, but then you won't have to go through another stage before polishing because you could polish directly after using this rubber wheel. So we're about to do all that, clean the remaining textures, and then this ring will be ready for polishing. I just got done with the blue and black rubber wheels. I took off pretty much all the 3D printing texture. The last thing I'm about to do is go over any surfaces that look like they need a little TLC with this rubber wheel. This on the box is called a pre-polisher, basically a pre-polishing rubber wheel. It makes your surfaces nice and even and smooth and gets it ready for polishing. I'm also going to go back to the laser to see if I've missed any spots. I checked already, there wasn't too many, but there's a few I'm going to go over. And after this, all we're going to do is basically go over the facets with the 2000 sandpaper one more time, inside and out, to clean up anything we may have touched with the rubber wheels. And then it'll be time for polishing. So now it's time to polish the ring. First, we're going to start off with this Japanese white, which is 6000 grit. It's basically 3 times finer than the last sandpaper we used, and it's going to take away all the scratches and give it a nice base for the final shine. And the brush I like to use is a soft bristle brush, just like this, and you can polish the whole ring like this. Also, the final polish that I'm going to put on after the pre-polish is this green polish someone recommended to me, which is specifically made for platinum, and it is absolutely incredible. Some other polishes I have used leave some scratches and stuff under the microscope, but this one really gets the job done and gives it a beautiful shine. I also prefer the shine of platinum to white gold, because platinum stays in its natural state and has a beautiful color, whereas with white gold it has a yellowish hue that requires rhodium to make it look white. So that's an extra process you could avoid and not have to put anything on it. You could keep it natural. So I just got done with the pre-polish with the Japanese white 6000 on the insides, the outsides, and the sides. What you're basically doing with the pre-polish is taking away those scratches you had from the 2000 sandpaper and preparing a nice base for the final shine. You could even technically leave it like this, but once you see it with the green, it'll be that much better. Alright guys, so I just got done with the final polish on this ring. I'm very pleased with how it came out. There's a few droplets of water you might see because I just washed it. But yeah, so I tried to get rid of as much casting evidence as I could using the laser and the tools I showed you. This is the same approach I take to cleaning my rings or any piece, whether it's gold or platinum, whether it's handmade, 3D printed, or from a mold and cast. The upside to a 3D printed piece like this is the guaranteed symmetry, the look of it. There is no solder seams to have to clean up, and if you do a nice job cleaning it, it really comes out nice. As you can see on my other video on my channel, I have a handmade version made in silver, same style ring, just bigger links. And yeah, this is just a different approach. So if this video helped you, I'm glad it did. And you can use this approach on other styles of jewelry. It's very simple steps, but just tedious work. You really got to put in the effort to go through the stages to have it come out nice. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. I haven't seen too many platinum Cuban link rings, and I've been waiting for someone to order one because I haven't had a chance to make one for myself. So this is quite a big ring. This is size 12.5.